amendments, and it just gives you options of whether or not you would like to strike through some of the options or leave them as is. So option A refers to the attendance at meetings via audio or visual audio attendance being counted towards your quorum. What that means is that if somebody attends online, they're able to vote and participate in discussions as per usual, as if they were here presently. There are certain circumstances that would apply there, and they generally at the chair's discretion. What we've done in the past is that it would be used for sick, if people were sick but still wanted to attend, or if they were away.
Sorry, I was just going to say a good example of that for was Sarah Jane was having debating last year. So yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Oh, you're right.
Item B refers to public forums. Public forums are designed to enable members of the public to bring matters to council's attention that wouldn't necessarily be on the agenda. During a public forum, there's no decisions or debate to be had, but elected members can ask questions with the chair's approval to get further clarification, and then that item may be brought forward to a different meeting. The option C, currently the mayor or the chairperson of other committees has a casting vote. You can either select to keep or remove that casting vote. It will apply to all committees. And option D, to speak, for elected members to speak during a meeting. So there's all the difference A, B, and C of that one, which was found in 22.2 of the attached standing orders. And it just determines how strict you might be within an official meeting.
I'll just make a comment on that, and I'll make a comment that when I was previously the mayor, as said, I will not be using the casting vote. Just purely because I think if we've got to split the council, then we need to come back and discuss it some more. I've seen it used in the past, and I'm not sure it went down that well, especially in other councils as well. And I know the LG they sort of like that provision in there for, say, adopting like annual plan and long-term plan vehicles, but I still believe that if we need to do more work so that we do have some consensus around the table, and I don't believe it's a thing for a mayor to use 2 votes to get something across the line. It's just my personal opinion, and yeah. So no,
I don't respect your opinion, Mary, on that. No question about it. I probably had the same comment you made when you did this last time, to be honest. But if it's it's your choice to use it. If it's in there, I think again it's a tool that can be used. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
But it's up to the discretion of the chair. Yeah. If the chair doesn't want to use that, great. But I don't know. I just like having tools and toolboxes and all of that. But I'm happy to go with your recommendation. That's fine.
Yeah. Bruce.
I support the ability to have a casting vote. I know what you're saying, right? And the supporting data in here basically is, really for statutory. If you're getting to a stage where you've got a date to do and you haven't reached it, what are you going to do? Somebody has to make a decision.
Anyone?
Does it apply for committees and everything like that?
It would do if we did remove it. I guess I'm like going back to what James Thomas said. I'm relatively comfortable with it staying here, but yeah, like James said, it is up to the chair to do it. So, but I'm just stating my position.
Yeah,
it's fine. Okay. Anyone on that? No. Okay. Thanks.
So, do we want to work through? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, just one other question. If you're not president and James is running the meeting, does that casting vote fall to him then?
It's 2%.
Yeah. So it would be worth keeping in the toolbox as a just in case. But I agree with you. I prefer to do things by consensus rather than split.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
If we could just work through the recommendation. So option 1A is either we agree to, sorry, not included, showing as struck through. Oh, so if we wanted to remove the entitlement to attend via audio or audio visual link, or if we would leave it as is and allow people to attend.
Leave it as
Leave it.
Yep, I think we'll leave it in, yeah.
Option B, in terms of the public forum, would you continue public forums? We allow in the standing orders up to, we could allow for speakers to come in and present to the council, and they get 5 minutes each.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's great.
Absolutely.
you can get 6 in a minutes, you will be going very well.
Very optimistic.
Do we have 6 in the whole team?
Yeah.
No, not seriously.
Yeah, we would have, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
probably
Yeah.
16 years.
Oh,
And then of course the casting here.
Yep, so, yep, happy to leave it in there, and it's like you say, toolbox. And no more standings on it, that's great. So,
And then option D with your general procedure for speaking and moving motion. So all of the options were set out in the standing orders attached, but there's a short description in the recommendation. So option A is to be sets limits on speaking and moving amendments. So that's quite strict. Option B is midway there, and then C is what we've done previously.
yeah,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I was gonna recommend Steve, as both having a good track record of working well, but also consistent with the way that Ash has met. So I think that's a good fit in my view.
happy there. Excellent.
And then number 2 on the recommendation is that all the amendments will apply to all of council and committees, but not contravene any act. So the act will trump the standing orders.
Okay, so if there's no more dialogue around that, we've got some of that with the impediments, it's got the
Are we
diagram.
able to just ask questions on standing orders generally?
That's it, sorry.
Are we able to ask some questions on the standing orders generally? Are we about to vote to adopt them?
Yes.
Yes, can I just ask, in 7.4, there's, it talks about appointing unelected individuals to committees, community groups in the place of elected members. And I know in other councils around the country, there's been issues with that, where school children have been appointed and whatnot. So it's I don't know if like we want to have a strict policy towards that, or would we want to keep flexibility? But yeah, it's just something that we want to be careful about.
yeah, I think, sorry, that was the example that I hear what you're saying, but example of that's Sean O'Neill being on the Heritage
Yeah.
Rail Trail. So again, it gives us flexibility to do that. And I suppose it's discretional here/chair that have, I suppose to have, for us to have the confidence that any appointment is, yes, there we go, that's the word.
And again, I'm guessing that it's all going to come back to the table too, so we would actually be,
Yeah, and risk and assurance.
Yes.
Some people say.
And I've just got 2 points, 2 more. 8.3, it talks about a third of people need to be in agreement to call an extraordinary meeting. So that's 5 councillors. Is that too low? Or is that generally like what you guys would think is acceptable?
I think it has been in the system.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
I think, sorry, if I may, I think it's either agreement as a resolution as part of a meeting with you guys to have an extraordinary meeting, or CEO calls it with support from. It's not something that happens often, and they would be well aware of why that's a big deal.
I think the only time I can recall it, Vinny, was just before COVID, the lockdown, when it was good to have the extraordinary meeting to allow the audio, visual, video stuff in person, so that we could carry on the meeting straight from down. So that was the sort of scenario where it was helpful. And so I think that the 1/3 was to call a meeting. That's not the quorum of the meeting. So there still needs to be an appropriate level of attendance for a decision, a binding decision to be made. But I think this relates to the requirement to notify public meetings, isn't it? And so it's a very weird circumstance where we may not be able to notify within the normal timeframe. Yeah, I think it was yeah, that's the only time I can recall it, was to get the audio visual permissions over the line for COVID use for them. And so you still had to have a quorum for the meeting to actually be binding, and you still had to have, but it was just to call the meeting and bypass the notification process rather than the actual decision.
Yeah.
Cool.
One more point, and this is just around number 10 in the standing orders, where it's in the opening and closing of meetings. It refers to Karakia, but it doesn't refer to any other types of prayers or anything like that. And obviously we're in a multicultural country with lots of different religions. So I'm just wondering, do we want to just have it limited to Karakia, or do we want to include like Christianity or anything?
Okay. Let's see.
Or do we need a prayer at all?
Yeah.
I can comment, the occasions that are used are Mana Whenua Forum and the Risk and Assurance Committee are the two that I'm aware of.
And Waharoa.
And Waharoa Iradrone Committee. Those three occasions.
Okay, I just wanted to get that out there now before we actually adopt the standing order. So thank you.
And I just have one comment. The word karakia doesn't mean to say it has to be a Māori karakia. It could be, it's what is appropriate for that forum. So it could be in any language. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
Were you still? Were you having a move between?
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. And if I can have a second. Sue, all in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Sorry, could we just, because we do have to have a 75% of members present adopting this, could we have a show of hands?
Yeah, okay, all in favour.
Close. It's
Yeah.
close. Yeah.
Is that you as well, Ash? Yeah.
Use your casting by then.
Okay, council code of conduct. And we have Sandra Harris.
Thank you.
Welcome, Sandra.
Thank you very much. So your code of conduct sets out your behaviour that we have expectations for in terms of elected members while you interact with each other, but also with staff and members of the public. Also, it talks about you performing your duties, so it's not necessarily just here in the boardroom, but wherever you're performing your duties as an elected member. Council is required to have a code of conduct at all times. It can be amended, you can have a new one, but you can never revoke it without a replacement. And same deal with the standing orders. This one does have to be passed by a 75% majority vote. And these are generally the only two reports that you'll ever see that will have to be passed by a larger majority than your half. Something a little bit new this time around, there's currently some new legislation going through Parliament that I wanted you to be aware of. They have a local government systems improvement amendment bill. This is proposing a change to the code of conduct, which they are proposing to have a standardised one that every council must use. This is quite new for us. We've always been able to choose what code of conduct is suitable for our council. They are expecting this to be reported back to central government late this year, and we're thinking we'll see something early next year. So we've added an extra option in for you this year. I will just run through the options very briefly and then open up for questions. So option A is to adopt your current code of conduct. So that's your attachment A. This current code was actually developed quite a few years ago by council's in-house legal manager at the time. It was designed to be a relatively easy to read document that helps guide elected members' behaviour. Option B is to adopt the Local Government New Zealand template, which is your attachment B. Our DNZ designed this template a number of years ago. It is quite a bit more detailed. It's got a bit more of a legal focus, and it's undergone some legal reviews and some testing from other councils that have had to use it. I think here at our council, we've been very fortunate. We've had really, really great elected members. We've actually had not much of a need to use our code of conduct, but it's another tool in the toolbox should you need it for any reason. And then, of course, option C, given the upcoming changes that are signalled in the legislation, council could simply receive the information in this report and agree to continue with your code of conduct. So you don't have to adopt a new code of conduct your very first meeting in. You can just continue on with what you've got. And this means that we'll come back to you likely early 2026 with a standardised code that you'll need to use. The other quick one there is council is also required to decide whether or not elected members need to declare if they are undischarged bankrupt. So this is when someone has been declared bankrupt but still going through that process. Council have previously always, in my history here, been requiring this of their elected members to disclose this because I guess bankruptcy impacts the perception of managing those public resources. People question.
Any questions for Sam? Sue?
I think we should sort of put something in place and delay it till the rules come through. Otherwise, we'll just double handle it.
So that's option C.
Correct.
But you like your option C and
yeah,
number 2 on the other. Okay, Vince?
I quite like option A. I read through both of them, and I thought that in the Local Government New Zealand code of conduct there was references to treaty principles, and that's a contentious topic. But the option A is quite it's everything that you'd like to see in there, and I thought that option B is straight into areas which could be contentious.
C is effectively A.
Yeah, so C is option A.
Yeah.
With an acknowledgement that we're probably going to be thrown out and replaced with a standardised one. So
So C is A.
so it's either A or C.
Effectively.
Effectively anyway. So, yeah.
Andrew?
My question is, if we go A or C and we get superseded next year, like saying the same, what if we don't agree with the new one coming out?
So the government department that was developing them have sent them out for comment. We, as a previous council before the election, had a look at the draft. It was quite a high-level draft, and the Local Government New Zealand and Taitawara, on behalf of all of the councils, have made submissions on various aspects within them. I guess the most concerning one for staff is that it's a standard, and everyone here has ever worked with standards. It's things that you're not allowed to replicate on your website. It's things that you're not allowed to have in hard copy. That was one of the biggest concerns. So you pay for one version and you get one version. So it's very, very not transparent for our community. We can't have them up on our website to say, hey, these are the rules of the council meeting. So I think that was certainly from a staff perspective, one of the hardest things about going to something that's a standard. And there were some other issues. I can definitely circulate what the draft looked like for you and what the submissions contained. And they're going to be discussing it in Parliament in December.
Otherwise, I agree with Vinny with the local flavour of option A.
So, okay, so we've got a couple of, it sounds like we've got a couple of options around the table. Who's happy with it to say an option A, option, or does someone want to move?
So you have C.
I'm just saying, option C, what?
Yeah, you've moved it.
Move that,
Yeah,
yeah, option C
sorry.
and D.
So, and I'm happy to second that.
And you have this here. Okay, all in favour of option C and adopting number 2, please say aye. Hands up. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Sorry, can I jump in and just clarify with number 2? So council, so your option there is whether or not you require them to do it. So just double checking that council are requiring elected members to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so that.
Has
Where-
passed.
Okay, so
Sorry, do we need to deal with 1 first? Because there might be people around the table that want A or C, but are okay with 2 being required. If we do them both together, then that might not give us the proper numbers for 2. That makes sense, sorry.
okay, so your movement is. Sorry,
Oh, just, I guess for my clarification, just so I can understand, 1. So we're not going to be, no, there's no support for B. So either way, we're continuing under the current, we're operating under the current standing orders, which is the bespoke, the Matamata-Piako district council ones. With C, when the standardised conduct comes out, are we already committing to that being bedded in? Or are we, like, what are we committing to there with that motion?
I guess in theory, the difference between option A is option A, you are adopting the standing orders and we require a vote of more than 75%. Option C, you're acknowledging that you're receiving the information and that the code of conduct as is will simply remain in place. So you're not, I guess, re-adopting it. So technicality, you're going to still end up with the same code of conduct, whether it's A or C. And in terms of the legislation, what we've been signalled is it is going to become legislation and it's going to have a choice in what the code of conduct will look like.
It's just threshold passing.
So, as far as I'm concerned, I actually put my hand up, but really, it's option A, because we're anticipating something that may never happen yet, right? So at this stage, I would say I would go with option A until the government or whoever come out and say we're going to tell you to do something else. That's it. All right.
What I was trying to say.
Yes.
It's a waste of time
Yeah.
changing
Yeah.
it, changing.
But it was, although we.
So option C is acknowledging that there may be a change, but we want option. Well, I would like option A. All right. Full stop at the stage.
But we have voted.
We've
Okay, so we've got a motion. Okay, we've got a motion on the table there. Sue, for option C, and that we require elected members to declare that they are bankrupt.
Yep.
That's correct. And we've got that seconded from James Thomas. If I can have a show of hands, all in favour for that.
I'm really confused, sorry.
Yes. Dane confused the issue, and I think he's right, is that we should be splitting this, all right?
Which is fine, but my confusion, sorry, is just that we have voted on. So now I've got my hands up. How do we?
This is why we have a very fluid thing.
Which we've adopted, was obviously we've got it. So, yeah.
I'm out.
Look, if I could just go back to this. So, like, I'm not going to die. Neither of those worry me.
No, neither.
So I'm fine with either of them. I totally take Dane's point, but in my view, it came after we had the vote. The vote was passed. So,
Kind of what I. It's kind of.
But I'm.
Yeah.
Over to you, Your Worship.
The first test of the training.
Councillor vote, yeah. 2 hands up. Look, so okay, we'll just go back to the all in favour, please say aye, or put your hands up.
But this is.
Well, we've actually
done that.
Carried it, yeah. So it was carried.
So based on the current situation, we have adopted 1C, and that council is required to declare if they're undischarged bankrupt.
Correct. That's yeah. There we go.
So I guess the last part, did anyone want to be recorded as voting against it for some reason?
That's yes. So see anyone that included opposed to that? Motion?
No.
Okay, carried. Thank you, guys. Item 7.3, and we have the flag. Yes.
I had no need to exercise any delegated authority, so it's just an information to be received.
Information be received. Who would like to move that? James Sainsbury and Andrew Seconds. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Excellent. Okay, the re-establishment of the council committees tomorrow.
Sorry, this one is just happy to take this one as read. This was your recommendations from your previous risk insurance and Te Mana Whenua Forum recommending that council consider re-establishing these two committees. And then our next report is when we get into the bulk of the actual establishment.
Yep. Okay. Just one thing on that, I would just like to say we can actually have an option here to change the name back if they like. It used to be called Audit and Risk. I quite like that name, but that's either or either. But we do have an option here, Sandra, is that correct? We could.
In the next report, yeah.
Yeah. So, what's the thoughts on that?
Actually, I believe it was given quite a bit of chat last time, and I think the wording was about assurance being the key fact here, if I remember correctly. What was it? Audit? Yeah, whereas this is risk assurance that we are doing what we should be doing and tracking the way we should be tracking, which is the reason why I do believe.
No, I think you're right though.
Yeah, that was changed.
Yeah, I wasn't on the committee either, so yes, Bruce, James.
I agree. So it's just a word. It all comes down to terms of reference and exactly what it does. I mean, it's, yeah, it can be called the most flaring thing in the world, and it does nothing. It's
Any other comments around
The purpose didn't change.
No. Okay, so on that, is anyone prepared to move the
I'll move.
Bruce and have someone to second that?
Yep.
Vincent, all in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. And we have Niall for item 7.5. Morning, Niall, and welcome.
Morning, everyone. For those I haven't met yet, my name's Niall. I'm the policy team leader here at council. Sandra's team and fall within Kelly's group. So my role at council is to look after policies, bylaws, plans, the development and review of those, in particular the long-term plan and annual report. Yeah, so I look forward to working with you all over the next 3 years. So today I'm here to speak to you about the proposed governance structure for this triennium, 2025 to 2028. And the intention is that we align with our legal responsibilities under the Local Government Act and the Local Government Official Information and Meetings Act, and really to try and ensure that council fulfills its decision-making in a transparent and democratic way that's responsive to community needs. The other point to this is the Remuneration Authority will not approve the payment of elected member salaries until we have a confirmed governance structure. And that is something that is on your agenda later today for you to review. So we need to confirm what that arrangement looks like so that you can give consideration to the remuneration arrangements. So in terms of the sort of broad Local Government Act principles, there are Section 39 of the Local Government Act sets out a framework for governance, and that is to try and ensure that governance around this table is clear and understood. We need to establish structures and processes that are effective, open and transparent, and where practicable separate our regulatory functions and non-regulatory functions. So they, as far as possible, they need to be separated in terms of our governance structure. The other obligation is to foster an effective working relationship among elected members with staff and management. So it's open for this council to determine the governance structure that it wants to see over the next 3 years. The Mayor has the power to establish formal committees of council, and once those committees are formed, it's the Mayor has the authority to appoint the chair of those respective committees, and they have the authority to appoint themselves to the committee as well. In terms of legislation, by default, the Mayor is a member of all committees, unless otherwise specified. So it's this council's role to, once the Mayor has established those committees, to decide what delegations those committees should have, and the composition of those committees. We do have some committees that are required by law and have a specific purpose that's set out in legislation that we can't deviate much from. But for some of our other committees, for example, with the audit and risk or the risk and assurance committee, you do have flexibility over what you do around that and the delegations that you give them. So just stepping our way through the proposed governance structure, you'll see in the attachment that at the top we have this council, which of course is chaired by the Mayor. And we have proposed that council retains the key powers to make those really significant decisions. So there's some things that we cannot delegate, or council cannot delegate to a committee. For example, the power to approve a long-term plan, the power to sign off a district plan or a plan change, the power to set rates, adopt a bylaw. Those are non-delegable powers that may sit with this decision-making table. But for other decisions, the council has the option to delegate those to a committee or some of the group. So in terms of the committees that we have a proposed risk and assurance committee or audit and risk committee, depending on the name you select. And that really focuses on the financial integrity of council, our audit process, our risk management framework. Previously, this was made up of an external chair, an independent chair. There was a second internal member, and the Mayor and Deputy Mayor were part of that committee along with 3 other councillors. There is a charter that committee operates under, and I've put a copy of that in the councillor portal, and it's also available on the council website as well. In terms of the Te Mana Whenua Forum, the intent of this committee is to try and strengthen the partnership between council and iwi. In the previous training, this was made up of Mana Whenua members from around the district, and also the Mayor and Deputy Mayor had representation from the council side on that committee. So the way that operates is that Mana Whenua groups can appoint 2 members from their iwi. So there's a principal member and an alternate member. And if both of them attend the meeting, then only one of those members can vote. So providing for the, if one of them cannot attend, that Mana Whenua group is still represented. The Mana Whenua Forum operates under a sense of agreement. And again, I've popped a copy of that into the council portal for you. It's also on the council website. Just moving on to our district licensing committee. So this committee is required by legislation. It operates independently of the council and exercises semi-judicial powers in relation to liquor licensing functions. The district licensing committee can be chaired by either an elected member or we can have an independent commissioner. The deputy chair of that committee must also be an elected member of council, and the additional members are list members that are appointed for a term of 5 years, and they must have experience in alcohol licensing. So to try and bring some experience to that decision making. I would just note in relation to that the deputy chair will only be part of the committee in the where the chair is not present. So if the chair is unavailable and the deputy chair takes that role, they will step in. Otherwise, they wouldn't be part of the committee unless they are appointed as a list member themselves. And if they want to be on the list, they will need to fulfill that requirement to have experience in alcohol licensing and fulfill the required training to support them in that. Just shifting on to our CEO Performance Committee, and as the name suggests, this is about reviewing the CEO's performance and employment matters. Typically, the meetings are public excluded, given the nature of the business to be dealt with here. And in the previous term of council, we had the mayor, the deputy mayor, and another 3 councillors that were part of that. And finally, in terms of our committee, we are required to have the Waharoa Matamata-Piako Committee. That committee has arisen due to treaty settlement legislation, and it's a joint council setup. So there's a co-chairing arrangement where there's a council co-chair and a iwi co-chair. And council is required to appoint the mayor, deputy mayor, and 1 other councillor to the committee. So there's effectively 3 reps from the council side, and there's the Ngāti Hawa members as well. In addition to those formal committees, there's it's proposed here that we establish or re-establish a few other groups. Firstly, we have our Hearings Commission. This commission predominantly looks after Resource Management Act consenting matters. There is also a building Act objections, so pool fencing and dog control objections that sit with that Hearings Commission. Currently, we only have 1 elected member that has done the training in terms of the RMA requirements. So we need to just be aware of that when we're appointing members to this. It would be our recommendation that any appointments we make to the Hearings Commission be subject to those councillors completing that training. So what we've proposed here is that the previously we required 3 councillors to form the hearings panel, and we're proposing here to change that to at least 2. So you may just have 2 councillors that are making those decisions on those RMA Building Act or dog control matters. And that's really to provide some flexibility in the composition of that panel. So you'd need at least 2, but you may have 3 or 4, depending on the number of people that have done the training and the issue at hand. In addition, it's proposed to establish a governance group for the Waharoa district plan change. And you'll see in the paper there is a terms of reference that's been discussed and agreed with Ngāti Hawa. And that essentially proposes that council has 2 representatives on it, and Ngāti Hawa will also appoint 2 representatives from their side. If council wants to put additional members to that, then I would suggest that we discuss that with Ngāti Hawa. They may also want to increase their membership to create that equality.
Do you have a question? Yeah, I've just got a question. That training that you mentioned for the Hearings Commission, how long does that generally take?
As long as you can do it. As fast as it can take you. But a couple of months at least by the time you've gone through the process. I have a couple of candidates in mind.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it's called the Making Good Decisions program. It's a national training program specifically for RMA hearings panels, predominantly.
You have a 2-day workshop that you go to.
With some online modules and online training as well. So just returning to this, so our single year grants committee.
You've gone.
Oh, I have to turn myself off. So we have our single year grants committee, which allocates funding to community groups. Those meetings usually held twice yearly and made up of a representative from each of the wards. So 1 ward councillor, including our Māori ward, and usually the group just decides on a chair at the time. And finally, we have our Creative Communities Scheme Committee, which assesses arts and culture funding that comes from Creative New Zealand. We have members of the community on that committee who contribute their knowledge of the arts and district. And that has an independent chairperson, and there's provision for 2 councillors, or 2 elected members, I should say, to be appointed to that as well. So overall, we're trying to, I guess, land on a structure here that balances efficiency and ensuring that council can focus on those really significant decisions while enabling those delegated groups to carry out those specific and specialised functions. If we need to at any stage, we can review this governance structure. It's not set in stone. So if something comes up, or you want to establish a working party, or you want to make some changes to the membership of the committees, we can absolutely do that, and it can come back to this table for a further decision. So yeah, I'll leave it there and hand over to you, Ash, in terms of the appointments that you'd like to make.
Yeah, okay. So the appointments we're making is it in this item or is it? Okay. Yeah, so we've had some good discussion around this one. We'll go to the risk and committee first. Now, we have the mayor, deputy mayor, and we have predominantly had 3 councillors, elected members on that as well. We have some interest from 5. We have James Thomas, Gary Thompson, Bruce Julius, Vincent Anderson, and Andrew McGibbon. So, talking yesterday, we can probably increase the number to say 4 or 5. If we end up with 5 plus the mayor and the deputy mayor, well, we're nearly pretty much a full council meeting sort of thing. So that's why in the past they've stuck to 3 members or elected members on that. So is there any comments or thoughts around that, especially the ones that have shown interest in yeah, I'm impressed that we've got such great interest in that right from the get-go. So leave that for the comments around if we were to cut it back to 3, or if there's an appetite to make that say 4. Or I mean, we can I guess have the 5 plus the mayor and the deputy. But again, we're starting to get to a decent size. So
Does it, but I wasn't on it obviously, but does it need more than 3? Otherwise, you're right, you might as well just have a council meeting.
Any other comment around that?
For those that were on it,
Andrew?
Is there any indication as to who the external chair and deputy chair will be?
The chair of it will be J.D. But are you talking about the independents? Or?
Yeah, the independent chair. Yeah.
And we haven't decided on the other independent yet. But yeah, J.D. carrying on with J.D. at this stage.
So that's right. So previously we had J.D. Kana and Joanne Awaki was the independent member.
Any other comments around that? I know because I know there's some very keen interest to be on that. So it looks like it's down to. Are we happy?
Do you want a CV or something like that?
yeah, actually, probably not a bad idea, and I'm not kidding there because it is. I think for those that put their hand up, it is quite an intense meeting, and if you are not a perfectionist, I think it would be. It can be a very intense meeting.
Okay, so the appetite now is to stay at 3 elected members plus the mayor and the deputy mayor. Can we have a show? Yep.
I was just going to add, I don't see it necessarily as a bad thing, but meetings are big meetings already, and then you add another few people into it, there's definitely the possibility that they go even longer. I just wondering though, does it need to have that many people at every meeting? Or, I mean, we do the same thing with the community grants and we rotate through some people. Do you need to, do those people have to be, I understand there's a, there's an interest from more than what's required, but is there the potential for, one or two people to not be everyone, or do you need to have, that, what's the word? Consistency of everybody being there, or could it be something that's maybe done slightly on rotation so everybody gets a turn, but you don't have extra people at the meeting? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's actually a very valid point. And also, in the conversations that we've had in the past few days too, I was actually keen on, if we establish it with 3 elected members now, in a year's time, those 3 members also could swap out with other councillors to give everyone, especially some of the new councillors, they've had a year of experience before, say, going on something like that, which could be beneficial as well. So there is an opportunity for it to be rotational, and I think there's a good benefit of that to give everybody a change. Going back to what you're sort of suggesting, Dane, is whether it could be loosely, it doesn't have to be set in stone, so that the only thing is that was, and Sandra's going to say it's around the remuneration, so that would make it probably a logistical nightmare to do that. We can probably do that after a year though, with a month's notice, and then going into the next year. Sandra,
just to clarify. So later on your agenda, we'll be setting the elected member remuneration. If council would like to set it based on committee membership, then rotating each meeting definitely makes it a little bit tricky. But like Ash said, if we appoint somebody for the first year, we could review it. The trickiness is that we have to get remuneration authority approval for any change. So if we decide that these will be the members for the next year, then in say November next year, we would come back to you and then we would be able to put a new proposal into the authority with new changed members if that's what we agree at the time.
I like that idea because it's a fresh set of eyes going across it. It's not the same people looking at it for 3 years. It keeps people a little bit fresh. You could potentially put, a couple of experienced members at the start with one new councillor and then rotate it the same way the next time. But I'm not in it, so it's a plus decision. But
yeah, I was just going to say that, but there is also the rules advocate argument in terms of if you get enough momentum, then you shift somebody in and then he stops it. I would probably look at it like you got Matanonu and that second 5, and then you take them off and put somebody in from UMS. Sometimes it can really work against us, if we want to beat Ireland at least.
Bruce.
That particular committee over the last 6 years has gained momentum, right, and gained significant. Well, there is some significant improvements in how the whole thing operates. It's been a benefit to the council, but also to the council staff as well. Right? My only observation is that there was a couple of times that we had have we got enough people around the table, because there were people that didn't turn up. And it's an important committee, and whoever goes on it needs to know that and to turn up to those
meetings.
Is there anyone that was on it last time that's interested in staying on it?
Yeah, James, Thomas, and Bruce Duke. And Gary's also expressed an interest in remaining involved.
He's up to
That's the thing. And I can answer any questions. Bruce, did you have another comment? No? Okay, so basically, I think, Dane, I like the idea of what you're saying. I think we're kind of mentioning to keep a experience on there. I think we'll keep again James Thomas on there. Yeah. Steve is going to share the screen for this one. Because you've also got experience there, I guess, you know, the thing is we've got the deputy mayor and myself, and we have experience on the audit risk and assurance, sorry. And James, so we've got James, it's basically I'm really in the hot seat here trying to pick people because I know there's some very good talent around the table, and Andrew McGibbon, I think, we're a new councillor, and then, like I say, I'm still firmly believe that we can rotate these after a year. So if anyone that is down in this round, don't get bad because you can always be back on it and appreciate the enthusiasm. So basically, we've got Gary, Bruce, Vincent. I think we need one more. Look, I'm happy for guidance around this because you know it's a council thing as well. I think if James, Andrew, and I know Bruce, you're good on that committee as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to James Thomas, Bruce Durhurst, Andrew McGibbon, the three elected members. Okay. And don't feel like just have to structure that and everyone's happy with that. And again, anyone else is keen in 3 years' time, we can review that. Okay. So we're going to the Matamata-Piako Forum now.
Sorry to interrupt me, Ash. Do you want to confirm the name at this stage? That way we've wrapped up all of this particular committee.
What's that, sorry?
Would you like to finalise the name, risk and assurance or audit and risk?
Oh, risk and assurance. Yep. Matamata-Piako Forum. So we have the chair, the mayor, deputy mayor, and we normally have one councillor. Now, talking with Gary, he's happy to step back and hand that the councillor position to his suggestion was Rewitty, which I've spoken to Rewitty, and he's happy to be the elected member on that. And Gary is also going to he can represent
so we could note councillor we could note councillor Gary Thompson as an observer. So of course, those of you that have been here for a while, Gary was actually our iwi representative at the table before he became a councillor. Once he became a councillor, he can't technically represent the iwi, but he can come along as an observer, still sit at the table, still have those discussions, but then he's not required to attend every single meeting.
Yeah, and Gary's happy with that position. Okay, the district licensing committee is we have the chair, Sue Whiting, who was trained as commissioner, and we have a deputy chair, which is going to be Greg Marshall, subject to fulfilling requirements, which is some training that's going on there. So that's who we've chosen for that there.
Just on that one there, just clarify if you also wanted to appoint councillor as a list member.
Sorry?
Did you also wish to appoint councillor Greg as a list member on that committee, in addition to being the deputy chair?
Yeah.
Subject to fulfilling the requirement?
That's right. Yeah. Chief Executive Performance Committee, the mayor and deputy mayor, and we have councillor Vincent Anderson, councillor Andrew McGibbon, Bruce Durhurst, Sue Whiting, and Dane Horn. Okay, that's who it's tentative for those. The Wahara Aerodrome Committee member is myself, Deputy Mayor James Sainsbury, James Thomas, I know you've been on that committee, and I'm just choosing James just to carry on into that position for, again, in a year's time, we could have a look at these new members that would be keen to be on that. Yeah. The Hearings Commission is Sue Whiting is the.
And I'll find friends. I will during next in the new year. I'll talk to them about it.
Yep.
And Ellie, I'm sure will as well.
Yep. And just on that, there can be opportunities for other people to get trained up as commissioners as well. So talk to Sue.
It's not for the faint-hearted, but there's a couple of people. Love it.
Kelly.
So there's just a question about training. So I've just had a look on the website. There's a 2 days foundation course that needs to be undertaken.
When?
Or the next foundation is happening today. So we've advertised 2026. 2 days in Auckland currently, but there's also an additional chair certification.
We currently don't have a chair. There's some things that limitations.
I'll show whoever wants to send a sort of.
The governance group for Plan Change 49, Wakaroa, and I have, we can only have 2 on that. So what I'm suggesting here, possibly Vincent Anderson and Sue Whiting, who you were on that committee, so it's good to have someone that can carry that over. And I know Regularly is also interested in that, and that could be a possibility, but we do have to get our permission for that. And if
I'd be happy with those 2.
yeah. But hey, if you're still keen, there's still a thing, but
Yeah.
lots of I can't make that decision. The Community Grant Committee is membership of 1 elected member per ward, including the Maori on the sharing comments around that. Sound good? Clarification.
Is our grants committee. What we have done over the past few years is just have each member rotating around each turn so that everyone gets a turn, apart from obviously the Māori ward, because we've only got the 1 representative there. So if you are happy with continuing on that way, then we will come back to you in due course with who's going to be the next representative.
That worked well, actually. No, sort of just moving around. We all had a say.
Excellent. Yes, no worries. Now the Creative Communities Scheme Committee. Now that's where we have councillors in the past that have shown an interest in being on that committee. It's well, Sandra might be the best one to delegate to talk about this because some funding available from the Creative Community.
Yes, so Creative New Zealand allocates a pool of funding based on population. So we usually get around about the mid $30,000 mark each year to allocate out to within our district. So it is a community committee, this one. So you can have between 7 and 11 members. We've currently got about 9. And you can have up to a maximum of 2 elected members. So we don't have to have elected members on there. You can if you want to, but it's a maximum of 2. We meet twice a year, usually later in the afternoon, and it's run, we also rotate the chair of that, but it's generally an independent chairperson that runs that. And the ideal candidates for this is people that have some kind of arts background or knowledge of the arts. And that's not your traditional art. It might be photography, graphic design, music, cultural performance, anything like that.
So for that, we've got Councillor Greg Marshall. He's obviously very artistic and musical, especially. And then there's some wondering about like Grace. Well, I know you're a photographer and fashion. It's one of your expertise.
Thank you.
So if you'd be happy.
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you.
That would be awesome. So then we go on to the representation on the other committees and groups. So we have the oh, that's the next one. Sorry, jumping again. So shall we go back to the recommendation? So the recommendation, have I got something that we will move the recommendation, which is Grace, which one have you got? So you've got A, B, and you have item 2, council notes of delegation.
If I can just jump in here, if we can have, based on what we've discussed, recommendation 1B, which is that you approve the governance structure and roles for the council committees and committees of council and other delegated bodies, including the elected member appointments, and with amendments. And what Steve's going to do is copy and paste all of that page that she had up on the screen as your amendments, so that we've got details with chairpersons and your appointed members, if you're happy with that.
Great.
Yes.
Moved by Grace. Have we got someone that will second that recommendation? Steve? All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So we will go to item 7.7. So this is where we get to acknowledge the great people that we've had around the table in the last 3 years and beyond. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome you all to the council chambers. And if I could have Sharon Dean, if you would like to come up, please. And we'd just like to acknowledge. So I'd just like to say thank you, Sharon, for the last 3 years that you've dedicated to your communities and to the council. And we really appreciate the amendments that put in there. If you would accept that from us.
Thank you. Probably easier to say it to everyone's face rather than online, you know, social media thing. But look, I had a great time here and my term on council, and I just want to thank everyone who I've worked with across the board, from Don McLeod, Mania, Mayor Adrian, all the councillors, all the MPDC staff. I came in not knowing a lot, but I left with a wealth of knowledge and some good friendships. So thank you all.
Well done.
We clap all the time.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the last 3 years. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure to work with those who I have. Mania, good luck. To Councillor Thomas, thank you for your guidance as Deputy Mayor while I was here. Congratulations, Councillor Sainsbury, to your promotion. Good luck to you. Aside from Bruce, it's been a pleasure to work with you all. He knows I'm kidding. It was a humbling experience, very honouring experience, and don't miss me too much because I will be back. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Kevin Tapping.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I obviously had the pleasure of working with Kevin all those years and years and years and years and years and years. So yeah, no, it's just great to have you here, Kevin, and it's a huge thank you from the communities, from council, for the effort and input you had into many different things over the years. So thank you. Really.
I wrote this stuff down because I can't trust myself to do it off the cuff. I just wire on and just keep things. So, firstly, I'd like to thank you all for your friendship over the 9 years that I was privileged enough to have been in the role of district councillor. It's those friendships that I'm going to miss the most. I watched staff grow in stature through those 9 years, many of you leaping up the structure into team leading, and in some cases, organisational leading positions, making me so proud to have been a witness to your career achievements. When asked what being a councillor was like, my reply was that it was a lot of reading, a lot of listening, a lot of questioning, then a bit more listening, followed by some positive debating, and occasionally a sense of frustration. But I can honestly and proudly say I never voted for a decision that I didn't think was in the best interests of our community. In many ways, being a district councillor reminded me a little of the TV series Yes Minister. When I watched that show, I thought it was a comedy. But once I was involved in district council decision making, I discovered that it could sometimes be a pretty fair representation of how things really work. The staff makes the recommendations, we discuss them, question them, and vote on the recommendation. But in real life, there's less comedy and more satirical truth than I could ever have imagined. What I won't miss will be the relationships between local, regional, and central government. Over those 9 years, it seemed to me that each level of government had their own agendas, with central and regional government agencies seemingly determined to prove their dominance over district councils by dragging them through unnecessary, mandated or legally binding minefields, all the while blaming district councils for not sticking to their core business activities. If I could wave a magic wand and change anything, it would be to create an environment where all levels of government work together to achieve positive outcomes for ratepayers. All levels of government tax and rates rate the same people. At the end of the day, it's our money they use to enforce rules, and in some cases take each other to court. Finish off, I choose to see the positive side of not being re-elected. It was time for change, and I was part of the change people wanted. I can now spend more time on myself and can become the gypsy musician I have often dreamed of becoming. So I'll be off travelling the country in a motorhome, seeing places I've always wanted to see, making new friends, playing good music, writing halfway decent songs, and enjoying good food and good wine wherever I can. I thank you for the last 9 years. I'll miss you all, but carry you in my heart forever.
That a game pitch?
Kinda. Adrian. Well, she gets the biggest screen.
Cheers, mate.
Listen, Adrian, the dedication and the hard work that you've put in for our community has been outstanding right from the very start. Just look to, this is hard. You've done a stellar job, and yeah, like so. Just this is just a welcome back into the program. Thank you very much.
That's
cool. Everything you've done, and you should be proud of everything.
Yes,
awesome.
that's great. Thank you. Yeah, and I've got better at just speaking off the cuff over the last 3 years, and a lot of people commented on how far I'd come. I just tend to fall over it pretty easily. What a journey, you know, you'll come as new councillors, you really know jack shit. Just to put it bluntly, you know, you come in and you start working on a long-term plan that you really have no idea what you're up for. And the last 3 years was tough, and I'm really proud that the councillors, we had to have courage, and we had to look long. It's too easy to look short, and that's what our communities unfortunately only see is short-term thinking. It is our duty to represent our communities but govern this district, and we need to look long. And I know the waters conversation is something that floats around. Nobody would forgive us in 10 years' time if we didn't have the courage to do what we did last year. And I mean that. We have to look long. It has been a blast. There's been some great, you know, some challenges, a lot of challenges, but we've got things done. And as I said in one of the articles I wrote, more than comfortable with the decisions that I led with my council the last 3 years. And that obviously faces criticism from people that don't necessarily know have the information. So I encourage you, following up on what Sue said around the Making Good Decisions course, I encourage more than one or two of you to do it.
it'd be great if 3 or 4 of you could do it, because I did it with Kevin and Donna Arnold in 2017. And the Making Good Decisions course is a very good grounding for counsellors to remove your conscious biases, to have an open mind, just assimilate, get rid of the subjective assumptions and opinions that when people make submissions, there's a lot of emotion. And I sat on panels where you had to ask those tough questions because you had to sort out, is this fact or is this opinion? So it's really, really important to understand that. And I found that a really, really powerful course to do. And of course, you understand the RMA and what it means, because it is a beast at the moment. And I don't know what the government's going to, how they're going to simplify it. But yeah, really do encourage them to really consider doing that course, because it is well worth it. And if a group of you do it, you can work together. I know Ali helped us through it, because there's, you know, when you've got consent, you've got notified, non-notified, and permitted activities and blah, 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 blah. It really does help the staff if you have an understanding of those, that legislation. And finally, I really, what I'm going to miss the most is the staff. Obviously, the last 3 years, I've got very close to a number of staff members. And I just hope you all treat them with the respect that they should have, because they're good people. They're doing the best for our communities. Many of them live in our communities, and they aren't your staff. They're Manaya's staff, and that is where I think the respect is really, really imperative, because they are the experts. A lot of us are lay people around the table. We think we know things. We really don't, and we learn along the way. So thanks so much. And I'll get back on the tennis court. And actually just had family visit from America for a couple of nights. So I was heading out the door as they were heading off. And they were heading down to Makai. So always there. Again, we don't care. And yeah, it's been great. So I'm clearing my head of all those things. The weight is off my shoulders. Yep. I'm passing it to you, because there's a lot of weight there. Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. So I'm going to move the recommendation. And if I've got someone that will second that, James Sainsbury will second that. All in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. And I would also like to break for morning tea now, and I'd like to invite our previous mayor and councillors to join us, please. Thank you. live, so we'll be live. Okay, welcome, Niall. Item 7.6, which is the representation on other committees and groups.
Well, thank you very much. Council needs to make some appointments to various external committees and groups that we belong to. I don't propose to go through them all, but I'm happy to do that if you would like, or take any questions. But we'd rather just propose this be taken as read, and you just move to step through the appointments that you'd like to make.
Okay, no problem. So I'll go to the first one here, which is the item for the Waikato Still Defence and Emergency Management Group Committee. So that's myself as the mayor, but actually just on reflection, talking to the alternate could be Deputy Mayor James Sainsbury, but I would actually like to point the alternate to Andrew McGivern, probably just around the experience that Andrew has at sort of level. Andrew, you might even want to make some comments on it. So, yeah, just
yeah, well, I'm happy either way, Ash, but I did remark that, yeah, I spent about 10 years on the Waikato CDM when I was through my Federated Farmers role, and I think I was essentially vice chair there for a while. So I have had, but I've been out of it for just only a decade too. So, but yeah, understand the structure, the setup, and the purpose. Yep. So yeah, probably wouldn't need too much of an introduction to that.
No, thanks for that. It's just about utilising everybody in the boardroom has different talents, and that. So Bruce, you has got talents as well.
Musical.
Thank you. Okay, so the Waikato Regional Transport Committee, and it is myself as the representative on that, and the alternatives was Mayor James Sainsbury. We have the Regional Triennial Agreement Forum, which is represented by myself and the Deputy Mayor James Sainsbury. Hauraki Golf Forum, and had a discussion around this. So again, it's about experience, and we've landed with Dane Horn, which obviously due to the nature of his business and is very involved in that kind of thing. So thank you, Dane, for the Hauraki scheme, which is the old drainage board, I believe, with Andrew McGivern on there. The LGNZ Local Government New Zealand Zone 2 representatives, myself and Deputy Mayor James Sainsbury, but also with the Zone 2 meetings, and maybe Noel could comment on this, there's great opportunity for other councillors to come over to the zone meetings as well.
I usually go
and yeah, Sue normally comes along. If you are available, I know a lot of you are tied up with work commitments and this and that and the other, but if you do find yourself, you may be able to come across, hit us up, we can get a ride over or something like that, because there are some interesting topics now, and you might want to just maybe mention it,
So this group, yes, all councillors are invited to attend, and including the members that you're wanting to appoint. The meetings are usually held about 3 times a year.
And they stayed holding them in Te Aroha.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
They do move the locations around. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they are beneficial. So but when they come up anyway, we can discuss that. And there's some interesting topics that they cover on. Okay. Future Proof Implementation Committee, and that's myself and Deputy Mayor James Sainsbury. Hauraki Rail Charitable Trust. We have an independent in that one, which is Sean O'Neill. He's been on it for quite a few years now, and he's happy to continue.
Are we still happy with that? Because we don't sort of get a lot of information from it. I'm sure we have it with Sean, there's no doubt about that, but
yeah,
with having it so remote. Sorry.
If I can comment, Mayor, yes, I do know the comment was made last term about visibility or lack of. It's not saying the trust isn't running well, but I think there was a desire to perhaps get the trust reporting back to council on occasion. So I can talk to the CEO of the rail trail about that.
They have reported in.
Not for a while.
No, but not for a while. And I would have thought they should at least be annually.
Yeah.
And that's something that I can.
I can
put the expectations on that.
Yeah, I know the CEO would be absolutely delighted to come in.
Okay, I think that's all of those ones, isn't it?
Yes, we've talked about the creative community scheme, and we covered that off, I think, previously. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and on that, have I got somebody that will move the update? Thank you, Dane. And have I got someone to second that one? Bruce, do you hear? All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 7.8, and we have Sandra.
Thank you, Mayor. So now that we've set our governance structure, the next item that needs to follow that is the elected member remuneration. So just to do a wee bit of a recap, the Remuneration Authority is an independent body. It is responsible for setting the remuneration for all elected positions in council. Each council is allocated a remuneration pool, and this is the total pool for all councillors. The remuneration for the mayor is set by the authority as well, but is separate from the pool. Each council's pool is aligned with the ranking of that council on the relevant size index and within the framework that they set. And then individual councils are responsible for allocating its pool to its councillors, and the pool must be fully allocated. Those are the Remuneration Authority rules. The total pool for our council that applies immediately following the recent election is $511,010. The minimum allowable remuneration for councillors is $34,915. There are also allowances that are set by the Remuneration Authority. These are paid at the discretion of council, and they are not part of that pool. They are funded separately. In addition to the set remuneration, there is also provision for elected members to be paid for their involvement in things such as hearings and related meetings under the Resource Management Act. Those fees are not coming from council's pool, and they're not covered underneath this report. So, as I said, now that you've set your governance structure and you've appointed to all of your external committees, we will work through a process of how council would like to allocate this pool. So if we're happy to cover remuneration first, I'll bring up that spreadsheet that we have been through in a wee bit of detail, and then we can move on to allowances after that. Right, I realise that's very small on your screen, so I will run you through what we've got here. So what we need to do for the Remuneration Authority is we enter each of the positions that would have an additional responsibility and what could potentially happen in terms of additional responsibilities and the remuneration for those positions. So what I have popped in here is based on the earlier discussion of the governance structure of the different members, and we've popped in some basic numbers in terms of what the ratio might look like. So this is 100% council's decision. I've just tried to pop in those numbers as we've got them. So I will run these through with you now and then open up for the conversation. So we currently have Deputy Mayor, obviously only one person in the role, and the proposed ratio that we've popped into the spreadsheet is 1.4. Risk and Assurance Committee member, we have one role for this, being one person that is on the Risk and Assurance Committee alone, like only that one, because we're also, of course, have two other members that we've put onto the Risk and Assurance Committee that are also members of other committees. So I will come to those positions after. So that one is a 1.1 ratio. Your Te Mana Whenua Forum member, we have one member appointed outside of the Mayor and Deputy Mayor. Again, we've popped in a ratio of 1.1, and I'll open this up for conversation soon. Hauraki Golf Forum member, one member again at 1.1 in terms of a ratio. Now we have two members who have been appointed to two or more committees. So that is Councillor Thomas and Councillor McGibbon were appointed to two different committees. So what we've popped into the spreadsheet as a starting point is a ratio of 1.15 to represent 1.1 for those committees that meet more frequently and a 0.05 added on for those committees that meet slightly less frequency. Open up for questions or comments.
Any questions for Sandra?
It's more or less what we agreed on. Well, we discussed.
Exactly.
I was just going to say, how many Hauraki Golf Forums? It's really terrible when you start questioning.
Four.
And I guess the other thing I'd say about that is essentially it represents the full day.
Yes,
So it's fairly
Auckland, isn't it?
Thanks, Ben.
Let me go down. Yeah, okay.
Any other questions on that? So I'll scroll across. Sorry, it's not that easy to see, but I can't manipulate the spreadsheet at all other than entering in our numbers. So there you will see the proposed remuneration column here.
Do we need to go through those items by item or?
So we will, as part of your resolution, I'll bring them all up one by one so that you're absolutely 100% with what's going into your resolution. And then, of course, down your bottom, you've got down here, so those councillors with no additional responsibilities mentioned within the table would be this value down here. So your minimum allowable was 34,915. And so what we're proposing with the structure is that those councillors not listed separately within the table would be on 39,300.
What's happened on the bottom row with the $90,000 and scroll up?
So that's because there's two members in there. So we've got, so this line here is if you're a member of two or more committees. And of course, we've got two members in there. So it's double in the end.
Okay, so we move on to the recommendation in.
Yeah, we can tie up the remuneration and then move into the allowances if you like. So I've also got, based on the conversation this morning, I've put up a new resolution for you here. So in your papers, it will be option C, a formula for setting the remuneration is used to recognise roles of extra responsibilities. So what I've got in here is I have taken those amounts out of the spreadsheet and popped them into here so that they can be added to your resolution because that's what we need to send to the Remuneration Authority. So what we've got here is Deputy Mayor ratio of 1.4, $55,032. Next, we have the Risk and Assurance Committee member. Bearing in mind, this is the one member of the Risk and Assurance Committee that is not also members of the other two committees. So this is Councillor Dewhurst. So ratio of 1.1, $43,239. Te Mana Whenua Forum, same. There is one additional member proposing a ratio of 1.1, which is 43,239 as well. Our one member on the Waharoa Aerodrome Committee is one of the members who is on more than one committee. So I have added them to the bottom of the resolution here. Hauraki Golf Forum, one member with a ratio of 1.1, $43,239. Hauraki Scheme Subcommittee, again, that is one of the members that is a member of multiple committees. So we've added this in below. So you'll see in my bright yellow highlight there, member of two or more committees, as per the above descriptions of the various committees. Number of members, 2. So this is your Councillor Thomas and Councillor McGibbon that are a member of 2 committees that are featured in the table with a ratio of 1.15, $45,205, and all other councillors not mentioned within the table with having additional responsibilities is a ratio of 1, 39,300.
James, thank you. Did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah, more just in terms of how it's structured, like, I guess I want to, with the motion, I guess I want to abstain from the first point, but also just indicate that I'm very supportive of the breakdown for the subsequent ones and the differentiation, so I'm not sure if that can be structured in the recommendation.
Do you want me to hand over to you to run the resolution part, or would you like me to run it?
I put the numbers that you had.
Okay, so we will go with option C. I will do. Is we can have an option C and have the deputy mayor as separate and get a mover and a seconder for that point, and then we can have a mover and a seconder for the rest of the structure if you would like.
You can't get them this.
Yeah, I'm not involved, so I can't.
Yeah, it's a second, so it was James Thomas move, was it? And Sue, second. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Gary?
And one abstention, I said.
Yeah.
Or one, whatever.
Okay.
Perfect, and then we will move on to risk and assurance, Te Mana Whenua Forum, Waharoa Aerodrome, Hauraki Gold, Hauraki Steam Committee, and those are multiple committees for a mover and a seconder.
Happy to move that one.
James Sainsbury moving that. Now we've got 2 seconds. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Gary? Yeah.
Wonderful. I will stop sharing my screen now and talk about the allowances very briefly. Find my notes here. So allowances, so the Remuneration Authority also sets all of the rules around any kind of reimbursements of costs or allowances while elected members are engaged on council business. So council is able to determine which allowances are available for our council. If you determine they are available, then they follow the rules of the Remuneration Authority. So first allowance available is a vehicle kilometre allowance. So elected members are eligible for this allowance if they're travelling in a private car on council business within the sensitive expenditure policy, which we've attached. It kind of has a good outline of what is deemed as council business. If there was ever a question, you're welcome to go and have a chat to Manaia or your governance team to make sure it fits in with the policy. And the Remuneration Authority published the rate to be used for your vehicle kilometre allowance, and it is based on the IRD rates that they set for all businesses. A travel time allowance, so elected members are eligible for this allowance if the travel on council business is between 1 and 9 hours worth of travel. So that first hour of travel is free. Anything over and above the 1 hour up to 9 hours can be paid out at a set rate of $41.30. So that doesn't apply for a lot of our meetings, but when you've got, say, Hauraki Golf Forum meetings in Auckland, that would well and truly exceed your 1 hour. Information or communication technology allowance. So there are a number of items there that paid out. Obviously, our elected members are supplied with devices that have internet capability, so those ones cannot be paid, but council could elect to pay allowances for the use of printers, consumables, mobile phone, and a personal phone plan. Childcare allowance, so elected members are eligible for this allowance if they're on council business, they're the parent or the guardian who usually has the day-to-day care of a child under 14 years of age. And the last allowance, which is a brand new one that came in just before the election, is the home security allowance. So you're eligible for this allowance if, based on a security threat and risk assessment authorised by council, council may reimburse some expenses of having a security system installed and monitored at your main place of residence. I will leave it there and open up for questions.
Any questions around that? Grace?
I will just stay out of the childcare one because I have. I don't need that just.
Okay. Any, other discussions around that? Really?
In that case, I'll take myself out too. I've got two other sessions, so.
So, yeah, and as I noted at the start of the meeting, I'll remove myself from that item. So,
So we need a mover and together for that one, Sandra.
So in that case, would you like to step through them one by one and we'll get a separate mover and seconder for each if you're comfortable with that? So Steph, you can drive. So if we start with 2A, the vehicle kilometre allowance. So you either adopt the allowance or don't adopt the allowance.
Yeah.
Adopt. So we'll go with 2A1 and we'll get a, sorry, you go Marriage.
Mover. And seconder. Dane. Thank you, Dane.
Wonderful. The next one is two.
Over, please say aye. Opposed? Carried.
Next one is 2B, your travel time allowance. So 1 is adopting it and 2 is not adopting it.
It's over an hour, isn't it?
Anything over an hour and up to 9 hours.
And that's not travelling 20K.
Yeah.
I'm happy to move B2. Oh, no, B1. The council adopts the travel time allowance in accordance.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Second, all in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
So C is your information or communication technology allowance.
I'll move B2.
Does not adopt.
Someone to second that?
I'll second that.
James. Savory. All in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
And D is the childcare allowance. So Steph will just capture those that abstain.
But that is if you are looking after your child.
Hey.
You're supposed to look after your child.
So if you are the day-to-day guardian of your child and you need to pay for childcare while you attend council meetings or evening events that are associated with council. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, that's nothing to do with us. That's to do with the person that's here, does it? We're sort of, it's more deciding whether we're going to allow that to happen or not. So I'm certainly in favour of allowing it for.
Yeah, happy to move that.
So you move that, yeah, I'm happy to second Marriage.
Actually, I've got two boys under 30, or maybe watching.
They're still quite needy, are they?
Yeah. We'll make that, Andrew. Thomas, second, all in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried, thank you.
And last one there, E is the home security allowance. So this is a new one. We obviously haven't conducted any kind of risk assessment. Hopefully we never have to, but you can add that in at council's discretion.
Someone happy to.
Does not adopt. I mean, I think if there was an issue and somebody was had a real security problem, we would come back to solve it.
It can be reviewed at any time. Yeah.
I'll second Sue's motion.
So we do not adopt that.
Yeah.
Page.
Yeah.
Okay, Andrew. All in favour, please say aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. That was a biggie. That's great. 7.9 and we have Ellie. Welcome, Ellie.
Hi.
Uh-oh. I always feel, I don't know why I feel guilty every time I see you.
Oh, that speaks more about you than me, Jim.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you.
Hello. So you will remember when we talked about this in the workshop about the Local Authority Members Interest Act to outline the things that you have vested interest in, shares, directorships, money, income, and things like that. This I would want to note as well, does sit separately from your conflicts of interest that you declare. This is purely for you. The Act, I would recommend you have a look at it because it is actually quite specifically about the member. But home finances are a little bit interesting in the case of when a husband has shares and you get those shares jointly because they go into a joint account, but they are not your own shares. I am leaving it up to you about how you wish to decipher and whether you confirm that. Grace, I hope you use an example. Grace did raise, for example, her husband owns shares, but it does go into their joint account. So I've left it up to her whether she wants to put her shares in, whatever it is, and brackets her husband. Look, I will leave that up to you. What I've done is I have 4 pre-existing members, lucky you, yours are pre-filled out. And for the other members, I will come back at your lunch time, which I understand you're breaking for or finishing for the day. And I'm happy to answer any questions or go through it individually with each of you to ask me questions and we can complete it. This is due January, February sometime, but given we are, thanks, Jane. It does become a bit tricky if council isn't coming back until a little bit later and actually trying to get people in to get these in on time because it's essential. So, and the other thing that we will be recommending today is about delegation of a registrar. So I've recommended that Manaya and myself are delegated as registrars. That means you can tell me and I will update the system to reflect any changes. And as we are aware with the delegations, that will also give Manaya the power to sub-delegate in the event I'm not here or away for any reason. Yes.
Thanks, Kelly. Any questions?
I have a piece of one at lunchtime.
Perfect.
Not a question, but I just thought as an example, maybe I can do that.
Yeah.
Where I ran into one with this one. So we have our family has an engineering company as well, and I have one share in that I was given when I was a kid, mostly for tax reasons, and out of 2,500 shares, I think. So I don't even know where I put it on here. I didn't put it down the first year and there wasn't an issue. And then I think in the second year, the auditors picked it up, went round and round in circles. And I was from the reason I don't really want it in there is because our engineering company does work for the council. Like sometimes it may fall under that $25,000 threshold. Sometimes it might go over it, but it's just simpler. It's not in there. So I'm not going to put it down this year because I'm working on our accountant getting me that one share taken off. So I'm not on it anymore. But as much as it says 10%, the auditors will still go through and pick up 0.0001% of the.
So that's actually a good thing to identify, thank you, Dane, is that our form has actually changed a little bit from what we had previously. So we are very much the letter of what the Act says this time.
Yeah.
So the auditors don't have that give or take. It is quite clearly 10% or not.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
I'm freaking out.
So that should be absolutely fine.
Cool.
And that's actually a really good point as well about when items come up. If you're talking about contracts or things like that, you stepping aside from that does sit separately from this.
Right.
Yeah, and removing yourself from a decision doesn't always have to be reflected in this document for you to make that decision. Oh, it is a lot, but please let me know.
I guess it's also a testament to, auditors and what they do find out, they go through the pace with a fine-tooth comb, which is good. It's reassuring, that it's outside eyes looking in, because, yeah, so that's a good point there, Dane. Okay, so have I got some, if they plan on questions for Ellie, and like Ellie said, she's available at lunchtime. If you're thinking of something or thinking, just talk to her and she'll tell you if it's relevant or not. Okay, so if I've got someone that would be happy to make the recommendation.
Sure.
Dane. Yep. And Rebody, second. All in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
7.1.
If okay with you, Mayor, I'd like to take this report as read. We're just recommending some dates for the balance of 2025 for meetings. The recommendation is that we have an additional council meeting on the 26th of November. The Waharoa Aerodrome Committee on the 1st of December, which has received approval from other members on the floor on that committee. A council workshop on the 3rd and the 10th of December, and mana whenua to meet on the 9th of December. And then we have the risk and assurance and the final council meeting of the year quite late in December, and that was so that we could adopt the annual report. Hopefully we would have something by, I think, the Friday prior, but the Audit New Zealand have said that they would be ready for the 17th.
Any questions around those meetings that are scheduled?
But so, sorry, Tamara, just, so that meeting on the 17th is just to pass the annual plan? Is that what we're saying? Sorry.
No, there will be other reports on that meeting, because we did have the meeting scheduled earlier in December, and we decided because there was that annual plan. It is the report, yeah. Annual report to be adopted. We thought it would be better rather than having you come in more than once for an official meeting to do it on one day.
Side issue. When are we coming back in January?
We haven't looked at dates for.
Because I think it's only fair with these people what their break looks like.
What we did this year is we came back on the 5th of February, and we had so in February we did the meeting on the first Wednesday and the first Wednesday of March, and then an additional one on the 4th Wednesday of March.
So when will we be expected to come back? So just give people a bit of an option for.
We would be looking at the same format as long as we all agree to it. So we'll be bringing a calendar to council for adoption.
Before the end of the year?
Yes.
Great.
If I can just very briefly add to that, so generally every year we come back either that first week of February or the last week of January. This will depend a lot on some of the upcoming council meetings where you're discussing some really meaty topics like your annual plan budgets, when councillors are comfortable whether you need an additional session. So I would suggest either that last week in January, or as Tamara said, the first week in February. But we can definitely, that's council call when you come back, and it will depend on some discussions going forward over the next couple of weeks.
People with the least.
Excellent. Okay. Any further questions, or have I got someone that will leave the recommendation that the dates are approved for the remainder of 2025? Sue's moved, and a second. Thank you. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Do we have inductions as well? Further inductions?
There is.
It was LDNZ stuff, eh?
Yeah, that's what we got. I've got my.
One meeting next week, and then the following week, following 2 or 3 weeks, it's at least 2 days a week.
Yeah, but the bus tours and things like that.
The induction schedule will still remain the same, but it doesn't need to be adopted, whereas these are just being written. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Item 711, we have Barry. Welcome, Barry. Thank you.
Ready to go, isn't it? Ready to go.
That's the one. Ready to go.
Morning, everybody. Welcome back, Mayor Ash, and welcome to the Capitals. Just a bit like deja vu, actually, in front of the previous mayor. So today's my report relates to a new subdivision at 15 Gordon Terrace Matamata. We've got an old villa that's been it's a remnant of its original size, and around it, surrounding it, is new development of 2 and 3 bedroom homes. Some got garages, the 3 bedrooms, and the 2 bedrooms without garages, designed to complement people that don't have access to motor vehicles. I really enjoyed writing this. It's got a lot of history, and happy to explain any part of the. I'll take you through the report if you'd like. just to sort of explain how the road naming works. So the executive summary obviously summarises the key points. As we turn through the background, there's a lot of information relates to the rationale behind road naming, why we do it, and the benefits of doing it well. And there's a couple of renders on page 3 showing the villa and surrounding buildings to be built, and another design of the original villa on page 4, then a bit of information relating to risk options, the road, because generally we provide a for each new road name a preferred option and alternatives. These are provided by the applicant, and there's quite a bit of going and throwing, trying to make sure that they've got the right names. Particularly, there's no conflict with existing street naming. And then they go through checks with LINs. So there's actually quite a bit involved in putting the information together. And then we've got policy decision making on page 6. And further information on page 7 as to how we communicate back to the applicant or the person who's representing the applicant. And that's essentially it. So if anybody has any questions, that does.
Yeah, thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, I'll make a statement. I will move that we approve the name Frederick Glen. It's because it's about the longest you've actually had to describe the
Yeah.
for quite some time.
So quite often I get here and I don't have a chance to get seated. So some of my reports go through and flash.
And the reason why I always approve it is because that's the preferred option of the people involved. So that's why it's so easy. You know.
So there's a lot of rigor involved in getting the name correct. So it's an enjoyable process actually working with the applicants. Obviously some are easier than others, but you have to take people through it, and yeah, generally we get good results. So, thank you.
Next, and then just
I'd just like to say thanks for the report. It was clear and concise, and obviously no conflict with being private laneway. There's no outside consultation required. There's no conflict of names, so I've got no objections to it. I think it's
thank you.
Well put together. Thank you.
And there's no cost to council because it's private as well.
That's even better.
It's even better.
Yes, I'll second it.
Any other comments?
I didn't realise it's such a big space.
Got moved by Sue and seconded by Henry. All in favour, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Barry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Cheers. And so now I declare the meeting closed. Our first formal in the boardroom meeting. Thank you, God. And we'll go all here.